So this is what this school year probably feels like. School just started, and for freshmen who just came to high school, they're all going to feel like everything's new. I have to start off well. This is the career that I'm going to build up for high school. For sophomores, you're finally a year higher. You have a grade of underclassmen below you who look up to you. And as for juniors, as everyone says, it's the most important year of high school. So you're all ready to build up on the extracurriculars that you've devoted the past 2 years of high school. And for seniors, now you're at the very top. You're finally concluding what you've been working on for your whole career in high school. Now, here is a cartoon from Calvin. Here's a cartoon from Calvin and Hobbes, and if you can see, it shows what most of us look like at school, or some of us. Sitting at a table, boring, you yell out boring, and you get sent to the principal's office. Why? Because you're not supposed to say school is boring. You're supposed to enjoy learning. And today, I'm here to talk to you guys about how to enjoy your learning, but not in the cliche way. How to enjoy learning in the way that fits your own color. So here are 4 key terms that I'm going to talk about today, which is engagement, passion, enjoyment, and application. And as you can see in man's face, how do any of these words relate to learning? Or school in general? If you think about school, obviously you think of boring, not interesting, 8 hours, I want to go home. So to change your perspective on how I engage and enjoy school and everything outside of school, we're first going to talk about engagement and passion. So first is engagement. The first question that comes up when we talk about engagement is, what do you do inside and outside of school? A lot of you, or the majority of you, have probably taken AP or advanced placement classes, or even IB classes that force you to study at a higher level of education, engaging in harder and more deeper leveled classes of studies. Well, outside of school, we're also engaged in a variety, especially in a society like Korea. A lot of students are engaged in extracurricular studies, clubs, also sports, if that relates to you, and a lot of internships such as the Global Youth Institute here. Well, the question that arises is not what do you do after school or what do you do inside school, but why do you do it and how do you measure, how do you quantify what you do? So here's a quote about education. The whole purpose of education is to turn mirrors into windows. Think about that quote for a moment. Based on what you learn at school, F equals MA, 2 plus 7 equals 9. Is that education turning your mirrors into windows? When you look at a mirror, what do you see? You see yourself. And that's how I used to perceive education, as a road to see who I am, who I could be, and how I can get there. But the last word there, turn mirrors into windows, really changed how I look at what I do and how I can apply outside of school. Yes, I'm engaged in looking at mirrors. I'm engaged in looking at mirrors to see who I can be. But how do I get there? And is looking at myself important? So the key word here is windows. But the question is, what do you want to look outside? What awaits you beyond the mirrors or the windows that you're looking at? And for me, the quest throughout high school seems not to have been learning more about myself or developing myself, but creating what I want to see outside those windows. So when you're engaged, why are you engaged? Now, how do you quantify what you're engaged in? Me personally, I'm engaged in MUN, mock trial, debate. I play volleyball after school. I used to play basketball. I intern here. I interned at Cambridge City Hall, Massachusetts over the summer. And I do a variety of other things such as blogging, writing, publishing my own book, etc. So that's a lot of things to put, especially if you're looking at maybe college resumes. That's a long list of things. But the thing is, how do you quantify? How do you measure engagement? Is it numbers? Is it the 10 different activities you get to write on your college application? Or the quality? And what is quality in the end? Is it you being an officer, you being a member, you spending 5 hours after school trying to figure out what to plan for the next club block? How do you measure engagement? That brings us to our second point, passion and enjoyment. In the end, measuring engagement comes down to you as an individual. We talked about mirrors. So are you enjoying the activities that you do? Are you passionate about the activities that you do? This is what measures how engaged you are. And this is what will differentiate you in your course of education. So this is me. I used to live in Cameroon, Africa. I move around the state, I move around the world. So I lived in Dubai, I've came back to Korea, I moved to the States, I lived both on the East Coast and the West Coast, and most recently I was in Cameroon, living there for 3 years. And I volunteered at an orphanage. My first year there was when I was in 7th grade, and there were probably about 1 to 2 volunteers that went on the orphanage trip. By the time I left at the end of my freshman year, we had about 10 volunteers who would go to sing carols to these children. And at this orphanage, I didn't learn the cliches of volunteering, not reaching out, feeling empathy, but actually understanding what it means to be a volunteer and what it means to be on the receiving end of a volunteer. While I was working at the orphanage, I was actually slapped on the face by an 8-year-old orphan, which is probably not your cliche volunteer story. But that's exactly what happened. And what I did is the typical high school thing. I got angry at an 8-year-old because I said, I'm here helping out with you, I'm playing with you, I'm spending my Saturday afternoons trying to tell you, hey, I could be your friend. I can't speak your language, but I'm here for you. But then she slapped me on the face. And the reason was simple, because I wouldn't give her my earring. So what I did was I skipped the next volunteer meeting for about a month, and then I thought about it. Why is this the way it is? Do I still want to volunteer at an orphanage? They don't seem to value what I'm doing. Is it worth my time? And then I came to the conclusion, hey, why are you classifying yourself as a volunteer and someone who's receiving the volunteer aid? In the end, she's an 8-year-old and I'm only a 14-year-old. I'm there to play. Does it matter that I'm volunteering for her? And isn't it right that she's also helping me out? Because I'm learning from her that people don't live the lives we live together. So what happened was when we returned back to Korea and our family was actually planning on adopting her, even after all the turmoils we had together, is that we decided probably the educational system here would be much more different for her, especially in her language. French was her first language. So we decided to leave and I lost contact with this orphanage for about 2 years. Well, just about a month ago, I received a Skype call from Cameroon in the middle of nowhere. They actually had internet connection. And we talked about, hey, can you please come back? And I said, I don't live there anymore. But they'd really like to see me back. And so I decided, why not take this a bit further? I am passionate about the friend that I work with. What can I do to help? Now, a lot of things that people, especially in Korea, like to do with their volunteer services is to collect money and send it off. But does that really measure or show how engaged I am, how passionate I am towards this 8-year-old who grew up with me, who's now 12? So what I decided to do was I run a blog, and I had a couple advertisement companies reach out to me. So I decided, hey, I'll strike a contract with you. I'm earning $300 a month, and I will collect that money. I'm earning my own money that I'm going to send off. And that is the measure of my passion and enjoyment towards what I learned and did at this place. Second, I'm a major Big Bang fan. Big Bang is a very popular boy band in Korea, and a lot of people ask, why do you fangirl? Is it even worth your time? It's not helping you get to college. Well, the thing is, it actually is, because I enjoy interacting or engaging and fangirling as much as possible. So last year, when we released their album, I wrote up a music video analysis on my blog, which hit 80,000 views a day. I reached #1 on Korea's major portal site, and also on major news outlets. I have read that maybe my blog was actually being reached out to the band members themselves. And this was what really got me to popular media light that actually led me to reach the contracts that I'm using to send money off back to Africa. So in the end, it comes back as a cycle. I liked Big Bang. I liked writing about them. I liked looking at their music videos. So I wrote about it. I kept writing. It took me 3 years, but what high schooler hits 80,000 views on a blog in a day? The next one is also an extension of what I did while I was writing on my blog for Big Bang. So while I was writing analysis, I learned that, hey, I could actually really do a lot of rhetoric and I could write. So I decided, why not take this further and write for myself? So I write poetry, I write personal prose, I do vignettes, I do abstract writing. I really focus on how to capture emotion because that's the emotion and enjoyment I feel when I'm fangirling. I'm happy, or maybe I'm depressed, maybe I'm sad. But all of these emotions come together and I decided, hey, I'm gonna write a book. So the second semester of my junior year, where most of you are probably studying for AP exams or SATs, I decided to sit down over winter break and write a 140-page book. And I advertised on my blog, which also only just developed because I enjoyed writing on my blog, not because I wanted to go to college. And I ended up selling 93 copies of my book, first book ever, for $130. So this extends into the last component of what we're talking about today, application. You're engaged, you like it, and you use it. You're passionate about it. But what can we use this in academics for? I mean, obviously all the activities I've done, publishing a book, or actually getting my own contract to raise money to send off to the orphanage, yes, surely those are things I'm passionate about. But then let's bring it back to school. So at our school, we offer this program called AP Capstone. It's like a research class that many college students are to take in college that forces students to understand, analyze different perspectives around the world, and come up with a research question that really interests them. This year, I will also be focusing on one major topic throughout the whole year, and you can see it as like a parallel to the master's thesis that college students do at their final year of college. So last year, I wrote about illegal immigration and internalized oppression. I talked about the psychology behind how we perceive illegal immigrants and how that changes the role of racism within the immigrant community itself. Now, throughout Capstone, I had lots of turmoils. I had to experiment with how I research, how I use my time, and why I like the things I do. And based on this, I was able to develop my analytical skills, but also my organization skills, which have proven really effective over the summer. So this summer, I interned at Cambridge City Hall for a city councilor, and while I was there, I worked on a variety of different projects, the first of which was understanding and creating one-pagers. This is a one-pager created by a different intern at our office, a college intern, but while writing these one-pagers, I had to understand how to summarize the longest paragraphs and the most complicated details into the shortest pieces possible. And this wouldn't have been possible if not for the classes I've taken in high school and the work I did out of high school on my blog, whether it be even for just entertainment. This is another thing that I worked on during my internship this summer. So I was put in charge of organizing the STEAM education group. So STEAM, or STEM as majority of you know it, is science, technology, engineering, math. The arts is in there so we can broaden our perspective on what education could be. Now Cambridge is trying to use this STEAM working group in order to allow students to get more engaged out of school into real life activities. My internship, writing policy orders, that was a real life activity. Every word I wrote affected the community. But for science and technology, like even computer coding, as how big it's becoming in our world today, we don't have these opportunities available, and more when I came back to Korea, I realized we don't have platforms in Korea where students can find information about extracurriculars, internships, classes you might want to take. All these informations are classified into institutions where you have to pay, ask for information. So based on what I did this summer, I decided, hey, I could apply this and my organization skills I learned in different classes, as well as my public speaking skills that I learned in mock trial debate, to reach out to different people and try to create a platform where students can have free access to information on both studies, testing, internships, and other extracurricular activities. Now, more application. While I was engaged in MUN, I had to write resolutions about different topics. Now, it's MUN, Model United Nations. What I wrote there never got fully implemented into the real world. I can say, hey, in order to create transparent governments, we need to work on making sure the aid goes where it goes. But then, it's all fake in the end. But this summer at my internship, I actually worked off policy orders that got voted unanimously and passed. And this one is the lower scale one I worked on, Let's Recover a Mural in Cambridge. But I couldn't have written this without all the experience I had writing up formal letters or formal organized resolutions in MUN, or even at the Global Youth Internships, where I actually wrote up a policy order for a no-car day in Seoul to prevent air pollution. So this brings us to the conclusion slide, which is another piece of comic strip from Calvin and Hobbes. Explain Newton's first law of motion in your own words. What's that even supposed to mean? So he writes, Yakafun Bag, Garag, Pabawap, Zinc, Watum, Gazork, Chumpel, Spas. I love loopholes. Hey, they asked, explain it in your own words. So the question today is about how you can extend, engage, be passionate, but then in the end, turn it into your own words. What does learning mean to you? For me, learning has not been about getting straight A's at school. It hasn't been about 99.8s. It's been more of how can I use this to do what I do? Or how can I use this to do what I want to do? I like writing about entertainment. I like writing about myself. So how am I going to use what I did at school to make sure that I am a coherent person and I can use my education and apply it in higher level studies and outside in the real world? So the task for you that remain is, I love loopholes, what's your loophole?